Hey, good evening. My name is Garrett, and welcome to The Last Call. So, just the other day, the Bourbon Junkies released a video titled something along the lines of my favorite whiskeys to drink right now. And I seen the video and I was like, this is actually a really good little list to put together. And as always, they called out the whiskey tubing networks and said, hey, what's your lists? And I really had to kind of dig around a minute because I've had a lot of great things recently to kind of dive into. So I thought, I'll put together a list. I can do this. No problem. So the first bottle on the list is the Night Starter bottle. Essentially something that you kind of work into your tasting event, or maybe just the first whiskey of the night so you don't blitz your palate right from the get-go. For me, that's from the West Fork Whiskey Company. This is their bottled and bond wheated bourbon. And I love what they're doing over there. And in 2023, they finally started releasing bottled and bond products. This one, obviously bottled and bond, so it's 4 years old, 50% ABV, but the mash bill is really where the fun is. So they're actually doing 73 corn, 17 wheat, and 10 rye on that. And the spices that come across on it are just great. You get that kind of wheated, herbal spice going on in there, that little bit of rye. And then you're almost getting this Granny Smith apple, almost baked apple pie going on. Great bottle. I've been through a couple of them already just because they're easy drinking bottles, and I can find them on a lot of shelves here in Indiana, specifically around the Indianapolis area where they're coming from. But phenomenal bottle, easy one to open up the night with. Get some nice spices in there, but also you're not blitzing your palate with a super high ABV either. Bottle number 2 on the list is your current favorite daily drinker. And actually for me, it's a very recent review that I did, and I just instantly fell in love with it. And that's Proof & Wood's Tumblin' Dice. This is their straight rye whiskey. It's 8 years old, single barrel, barrel proof, and it is coming from MGPs. And they tell you all that kind of great information. It's a 95% rye, 5% barley, coming in at a 57.1%. And I'll tell you what, the herbal, the medicinal are phenomenal in here. Unlike any other MGP rye I've had, it's got a little bit of that MGP dilly note that's going on. But the tea notes is what drives it to another level for me. It's not only black tea, but you get a bit of like a peppermint spearmint tea going on as well. And just the oakiness in this one. I love an oaky whiskey. And it's almost like if you would have told me it's double barreled, I would agree with you 100%. And even though it's single barrel, barrel proof, and all those rich notes, it doesn't drink like that. It drinks so easy. It drinks closer to that 50% mark than a 57. It is just a phenomenal sip. And yeah, I just got this in the other day and I just can't get enough of it already. I'm already going to have to hunt down another bottle because it's just that freaking good to drink every night. Now, bottle number 3 is supposed to be your hipster bottle. The bottle that you got into before everybody else got into it and made it cool and mainstream, essentially. Now, to be honest, I don't really have too many of those kind of things. For me, I'm still a small channel, so there's not a lot that I'm jumping on into before everybody else does. But one that I'm starting to see more people talk about is from the World Whiskey Society. This is their Doc Holliday 6-year-old single barrel, barrel proof, straight bourbon whiskey. And I'll tell you what, even with all the cool fiddly bits and the 6-shooter top on here, fun looking bottle, it's phenomenal. The sweet buttery corn notes, it's oaky, it's rich, and it's got this bit of wood sugars going on in there. The rye spice comes through, bringing a little bit of that herbal and medicinal notes. Especially coming at the 57.9, it drinks really at that proof point, but it is a great one to kind of experiment with and showcase that just because you look a little different than your competitors doesn't always mean that your bottle doesn't have some damn good whiskey inside of it. Bottle number 4 is actually the Small Circle whiskey. Essentially, let's just say you have a few friends over, everybody's trying pours, having a good time, and you start pulling out some of the nicer things. Well, I could have picked something like the Eagle Rare from 2021, or my birthday bourbon, that's the 11-year-old one from a couple years back. But I decided to go completely different. I'll probably get some criticism on this one. And that is the Canadian Club 43-year-old bottle. This one is crazy good. You're getting a lot of those rich, leathery notes, a little bit of the herbal spice going on in there. Toffees and chocolate, just some great examples of a high-class Canadian whiskey. And yes, laugh at me if you want to. It's a great bottle. My wife bought this for me for our anniversary one year, but the flavors inside are just great. And to me, when I go to something unique like a bottle share in that kind of a situation, nobody's going to roll up pulling a Canadian whiskey. So I'm going to be kind of unique. It's going to be kind of different. It's going to be one that most people will probably never get the opportunity to try because they don't want to invest that kind of money in a Canadian whiskey. And to some extent, I respect that. But to me, phenomenal bottle. Highly recommend trying this if you ever get the opportunity. Now, the last one is your big circle whiskey. Essentially, taking a bottle into a group of people that's at a bottle share, and just everybody gets to try something unique and different. You know, obviously you want to take your really expensive bottles, but you want to take something that's going to stand out and be something different that most people haven't tried. Well, that's my Spirits of French Lick, The Lost River. So this is actually a 6.5-year-old bottle that has more grains going on in here than I could ever expect. And I'll read them off here just because. So 54% corn, 10% oats, 10% wheat, 11% rye, 8% caramel malt, 4% rye malt, and 2% acacia. And this is coming in at a 56.1%. And I'll tell you what, this bottle exceeds expectations with that mash bill to things. It takes the distiller's eye to really hone in those kind of flavors, and it's showcased beautifully in here. For me, it comes across with a light bit of charriness going on, followed up with that 2% of acacia. It really does a lot of heavy lifting with that low percentage in there, giving you vibes of either like a freshly brewed pot of coffee or an espresso kind of richness with a little bit of a toasted element going on in there, to the point that it almost comes across like a toasted cask finished, because you're getting these wood sugars mixed in there with a little bit of charriness. Get a little bit of green apple, and that oats helps bring in kind of a granola with a little bit of caramel drizzled over the top of it. The idea, again, is behind a bottle share event like this is to experience something. And to be honest, this takes bourbon to another level. So when you see that mash bill, you're going to have a unique experience. And it's one that I want to talk about and share with so many people because it is a phenomenal bottle. So yeah, there you have it. My list of my favorite whiskeys to drink right now. As always, I'd love to hear what you have to say down in the comment section. Let me know some of your favorite daily drinks, your bottle share event bottles, whatever it may be. Just tell me what you're drinking at home at the moment. And if you're a whiskey tuber yourself, get that list made up. Let's spread the word throughout the community. Let's see what everybody has to share and talk about. And as always, may your last drink of the night be the best one.
You know, and I really like it might not.